Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. A failed bid, Ruel Reid and co-accused to stand trial in multi-million-dollar CMU fraud case. Wrong message, opposition calls for review of interdiction of Police Federation chairman. And later in sport, Sunshine Girls now facing Sri Lanka in their opening match at the Netball World Cup. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shane Masters. Here are the details. Former Education Minister Ruel Reid and former CMU head Fritz Pinnock failed in their bid to have their fraud case thrown out. The full court this morning ruled that the men have a case to answer. The claimants contended that there was a conflict of interest by Parish Court Judge Chester Crooks, who ruled in February 2021 that they had a case to answer. The judge, after the ruling, disclosed he went to school with Reid and that there was a possible conflict of interest. He subsequently recused himself. According to the judgment delivered this morning, the ruling by Justice Crooks remains.
The stay of the criminal proceedings is set aside. Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court should make every effort to schedule the matter for trial at the earliest possible date. Order number 4, no further applications by the claimants should be heard if the costs awarded against them in previous applications have been taxed and remain unpaid.
Now, Ruel Reid, Fritz Pinnock, Reid's wife Sharon, and their daughter Cheryl, and the Jamaica Labour Party councillor for the Brownstown Division, Kim Brown Lawrence, are implicated in a multi-million-dollar fraud case. The police are investigating a quadruple killing in Central Village, St. Catherine. The bodies of 4 men were found outside a house in an area known as Chinatown.
Based on information received by the police thus far, sometime after 3:30 today, residents reportedly heard explosions. Sometime after 8 o'clock, they made checks in the area where 4 bodies were seen. So far, they have been identified as Justin McGregor, OC AK Man, Mark Ellis, OC Frosity.
Now, the other 2 men have been identified only by their aliases, Atoman and Mento. Now, we will have more in this story in subsequent newscasts. The St. Mary police are investigating a double murder in Dover district last evening. Dead are 68-year-old Maurice Forrester and 57-year-old Michael Harris, both of St. Mary addresses. Reports are that sometime after 6 p.m., residents heard explosions. When they went to investigate, the bodies of both men were found suffering from bullet wounds. They were taken to the Anotta Bay Hospital, where they were pronounced dead. Now, it's believed Mr. Harris was the intended target. A close friend of Mr. Forrester said he was not a violent person.
Maro is a calm person, not hard working, but Maro is a man, he no give no trouble. He find himself dead in a wrong place. Because Maro, the only thing Maro do a road, the beg a spliff, beg a cigarette, beg a whistler. Yeah, he's not a man, he's not violent, he's not mix up with nobody. Anybody innocent, and Maro the Rasta.
Meanwhile, the getaway car used by the gunmen was found in the Itabarelia housing scheme, Anotta Bay. The police say the white Toyota Probox motor car registered PM 9933 was found abandoned with the 2 back doors opened. Shadow spokesman on national security Peter Bunting has weighed in on the interdiction of Corporal Ruel James by the Police High Command. He was speaking at the Northwest Clarendon Constituency Conference on Thursday night. Details in this report. The opposition is blasting the Police High Command for interdicting Chairman of the Police Federation, Corporal Ruel James, for remarks made at a funeral. Shadow spokesman on national security Peter Bunting says Corporal James is being treated like a criminal for standing up for the rights of rank-and-file members of the JCF. The High Command in a statement says Corporal James's comments contravened JCF rules, regulations and force orders and were viewed as disrespectful, unprofessional, unfitting of his office and rank. But for Mr. Bunting,
clearly he was speaking prophetically that there are those who want to muzzle the Federation. And that is in keeping with what this GLP government has been doing. Stepping in the necks of the workers of this country, bullying them. Take it or leave it. If you don't do it by March 31st, nothing for no.
the High Command has said it is committed to preserving the right to free speech of all its members, but this should be exercised in line with the established rules, regulations and force orders. Mr. Bunting, however, believes the action sends a wrong message.
Imagine the humiliation. Come hand in your badge, hand in your ID. You can no longer be the chairman of the Federation. You can't go overseas. This, that, treating a man, treating him like a criminal. There are police officers who are on charge and still are sub-officers in charge of police station. Yet, what is the grave infraction that this man has done? Represent those who don't have a voice. Which is why the People's National Party has come out today and said that is an injustice. That must be corrected. That must be reversed. The rank and file, the constable, they're not getting $28 million. They don't have the cushion. They don't get part of them salary month after month after month. They're not in the $20 million per annum ranks. They need, their families need, their children need them to be paid on time.
Corporal James has been served with multiple charges and is slated to appear before a court of inquiry. Let the chips fall where they may. Opposition leader Mark Golding says he's prepared to face the music if any People's National Party politicians are charged following the Integrity Commission's damning report. It said that 6 parliamentarians are being investigated for illicit enrichment. The Integrity Commission's Director of Prosecution Corruption has recommended that charges be laid against them. That report is reviewed by the Director of Public Prosecutions.
Would have to fall where they lie. We wouldn't be trying to interfere in the process like the government is doing, by blocking reports from being tabled on a timely basis. I have asked our members if any of them are aware of being investigated, and none of them have come forward to suggest that they are. So I have no reason to suspect that the 6 include anybody on the opposition side. But if it does, or if any one of them is from the opposition side, they will face due process.
Director of Public Prosecutions Paula Llewellyn says that there should be no doubt about the independence of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions in relation to any case. Her response was based on comments made by a Member of Parliament for St. Andrews South Eastern, Julian Robinson, in Parliament on Tuesday. Mr. Robinson had rubbished the explanation provided by Justice Minister Delroy Chuck about the reasons for passing the bill to extend the tenure of the DPP and Auditor General from 60 to 65 years.
Being a commentator and being uninformed is so unfortunate. The strength of the office of the DPP, certainly under my tenure, is that even when we are making decisions in very difficult cases, I can tell you, if a file has to do with a politician, I never deal with that file by myself. I always appoint 1 or 2 other members of staff, senior staff, and I ascertain that they don't know the politician at all. So it's just a name.
Ms. Llewellyn further noted that her office carries out its duties thoroughly.
We are transparent and we are not afraid. If it is that we have done further research or anything happens, and on the rare occasion there has to be a course correction, I have no problem doing that, and I have done it in the past.
Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett is urging employers within the hospitality sector to increase the amount they are currently paying for their employees in the Tourism Pension Workers Scheme. At the launch of a pension scheme, it was disclosed that for the first 2 years, contributions for those joining the scheme would be set at 3% of wages or salary, matched by 3% from their employer. From 3 years onwards, the contributions will be 5% from employees, matched by 5% from employers. But speaking at the annual general meeting of the pension scheme earlier this week, Mr. Bartlett suggested a greater buy-in from employers in the sector.
And I want to urge the employers, Robin, of the industry, to step up to the plate and honor their commitment to the workers to match the contribution of now 5%. And if it gets better, look at even doing better. So that not only is the funding available for their own development, because in an interesting way, they can borrow too from the fund in the time for expansion and development. And of course, pay back properly with a profit for us.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us, more stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. CXC Director of Operations, Dr. Nicole Manning, is dismissing suggestions that schools do not receive comprehensive reports after the yearly exams. The reports are used to assist teachers in identifying areas of weakness. Dr. Manning says the information is usually available on CXC's online platforms.
The subject reports that are on our platform, various platforms, particularly the Learning Hub at this time, and our web, which will be on our website, we are encouraging you to utilize those subject reports. That's where you have the details in relation to the performance and proper sample answers for questions on the exams. Regarding the SBAs, I must say that CXC sends a report to the centers through our local registrars. So they do have access to, I should say through our online platform.
Dr. Manning also addressed other concerns relating to SBAs, specifically why some persons are allowed to work in groups while others do not.
So the options at the school level, the center level, that's really a discussion at the school level. So there are options in terms of whether the candidates are allowed to do it in groups or not. So that's really a teaching and learning question. I would encourage this individual to have a conversation at the school level. And I would encourage that parents make sure that you have a copy of the syllabus so that you can have that informed discussion with the centers also.
And it's now time for the Business Minute. Shareholders in Stationery and Office Supplies Limited, SOS, have approved the company's 9-to-1 stock split. This unanimous decision made by shareholders this week will be implemented on August 2. This means the existing ordinary shares will be subdivided into 9 ordinary shares, resulting in an increase in total shares issued from 250.1 million to almost 2.3 billion. The decision will see shareholders receiving 8 additional shares for each share they currently hold. SOS says the decision is a significant milestone in the company's growth. Shareholders also voted to increase the maximum number of authorized shares to be issued from 500 million to 500 billion. Further afield, the U.S. economy's growth was stronger than expected in the second quarter. The Commerce Department reported Thursday that gross domestic product grew 2.4% in the April through June period. That's a faster pace than in the first 3 months of the year. The latest data on jobless claims from the Department of Labor was also released on Thursday. The number of Americans filing for unemployment insurance benefits for the first time fell last week to 221,000. That's a drop of 7,000 claims from the week before and also below economists' expectations. And that's it for the Business Minute. Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, the Bahamas government has given the green light to the Protection Against Violence Bill, with National Security Minister Wayne Monroe saying the legislation would help the country grapple with increasing reports of sexual assaults. The bill allows for the establishment of the Protection Against Violence Commission to promote awareness of human rights issues, support victims, and liaise with key officials when victims feel they lack full cooperation from the police. It will also establish a Protection Against Violence Foundation. On the international scene, Typhoon Doksuri made landfall in China's southeastern coast on Friday. The storm battered parts of the Philippines, killing at least 39 people. The typhoon slammed into the coastal county of Xinjiang in Fujian province. Most of the country's southeastern provinces can expect heavy rain through most of Friday, with rainfall projected to reach up to 11 inches in some parts of the region. And at least 2 people were killed after 2 aircrafts collided in the air near Brisbane on Friday. The aircrafts were close to the ground when they collided during landing. The 2 fatalities were from one of the planes, while the pilot of the other aircraft survived, quote, relatively uninjured. Authorities are investigating the cause of the crash and are working to confirm the identities of the deceased. And those are the top regional and international stories. I'm Carrie Simpson.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, Jermaine Brown will have your midday sports report.